Yes, guys, how you doing? Welcome back to Football Inc. I'm back here with the main man, Jonny H3232. We got some things to talk about, guys. Happy Tuesday. It's 2:30. It's time for the dentist. It's time for some transfer news, views, and clues. We've titled the show Huge Transfer News: Elanga to Newcastle, Grealish to Forest, Rios offered around, plus many more. But if I'm entirely honest, Jonny, we could have named it anything. There's about 100 stories out there today. How you doing, buddy? You okay?
I'm all good. It's like lucky dip. Spin the wheel. Where will it land? Look, there's a lot of players out there waiting for a home. And depending on which club you support now, you're itching for your club to dip their feet into the transfer window. And unusually, it's the minors who are doing the business. That when I say minors, former greats, Leeds,
no diddy,
and even Burnley are dipping their feet in the transfer window, seriously looking to recruit, upgrade their teams. They're not looking in any shape, way, or form like they're going to accept bouncing up and down for the next 2 or 3 years. They are in the staying around business.
Yeah, I'd love to see it as well, mate. I think it's going to be a fascinating battle at the bottom end. I actually think that might be one of the reasons why there's louder and louder noises knocking around that Brentford are actually going to think twice about even selling Mbeumo, because I think we've been talking about this, mate. I think some of these clubs that have been been casually going about their business, sort of gentle progression, where when they get ransacked the way that some of them have, and they're looking over their shoulder, it would be different if they were just seeing the same kind of the usual transition of teams going up, teams going down. But if there's actually a jeopardy of relegation here, and I think that there is for some of these teams, because Leeds, Bournemouth and Sunderland are going at it, going after it. Like, I don't think I've seen three teams coming up that are all having a crack. Obviously, some of their deals are still waiting to get over the line, but the ambition, the intent is there. And it does really bode well for a really interesting season at the bottom end of the scale, mate.
Not since Fulham, who spent £100 million and went down, have they spent so much money or on the number. Sorry, guys, been really rude of us. Hello, good afternoon to everyone in the chat who's on the YouTube. And if you're listening on the audio on Apple or on Spotify, welcome. If you're in the YouTube room, hit that like button. If you're here for the first time, hit the subscribe button. And if you're listening on audio, please drop us a review, 5-star review, and a follow. Helps the algorithm. We're just growing. We're brand new on the audio, so we got a lot of growing to do. But we're growing fantastically here, and that's all thanks to everyone who has been in these chats in the room supporting us, and we thank you greatly for
100%. Actually, I think in the last couple of days we've had basically our most watched streams in the last since we've really been going, taking it seriously in the last couple of months. So the momentum is strong from you guys, so we really appreciate it. And like I say, as always, all we ask for is a gentle drum of the thumb, a subscribe if you haven't, and keep the comments going. And if you're new here, let us know where you're from and who you support, and we'll try and bring up as many comments as you want. If you want to throw in a super chat to show your support, that's always appreciated, but never necessary. Jonny, let's get going though, because before we come into, in fact, let's start with the actual news. Sean Longstaff, we're talking about the relegated teams. Leeds United put in a cheeky 10 plus 3 million bonus for the approach for this guy. Newcastle United willing to let it happen. To me, I think this is one of those sorts of signings that people are going to overlook. They're going to underestimate the value of it. Longstaff is a super efficient, super experienced. He's got tenacity. He's got strength. He understands the fight. He's got that Newcastle pedigree in him. I think that sort of signing, if it gets over the line, I think that's the sort of thing where you get those, where you sneak a win, or if you get 1-0 up, as a promoted team, he knows how to get everybody ready for the last 45 minutes, the last 30 minutes, the last 10 minutes. Concentrate, focus, batten down the hatches, get these 3 points because they're super valuable at the end of the season. I think a Longstaff type signing is the sort of signing that can probably get you 8 or 10 points that you wouldn't otherwise have. And at the battle at the bottom, that sort of thing is sensational and formidable in your pursuit of survival. I think it's a really astute signing if they get this one done.
Yeah, listen, look, they bought 2 centre-backs, 2 good centre-backs, one from from Wolfsburg, one from Udinese.
Yep.
And Longstaff will be a really good signing, 10 million plus 2 million add-ons. I think is a really good buy. And Leeds has stated that it's not going to stop them trying to sign Hoffenheim's Anton Stach either. So it shows that, the backing the 49ers is strong, and they are definitely mean business in staying around. They're also looking to expand the stadium, make it a bigger stadium. I'm not sure whether the Glasgow Rangers are looking on enviously at the moment, saying, well, hang on a minute. Hang on. What's going on here? They're spending all the money in Leeds. What about us at Rangers?
Cards on the table, Johnny. You are a Rangers fan as well as a Tottenham fan, aren't you? So
I am. But the default, I lived up in Glasgow for a little while and sort of fell into becoming a Rangers fan. But look, that being said, the 49ers group definitely mean business, and they're showing it with the 49ers, Marshall, are the owners. And they have do they not have links to the Red Bull group or not? Don't think they do.
I don't know, to be honest, mate. I'm not sure. Yeah. I'm not sure. Maybe if they do, then that's interesting. That's really interesting.
We'll have to see whether that's true or not.
I'll ask Grok during the show. I'll come back to you on that one, mate. But yeah, really interesting bit of business. And of course, look, Leeds are also still trying to get Manor Solomon over the line as well. Little bit of listen, there's never a show that goes by that we're not going to talk a little bit about Tottenham. There's not a lot going on in the Tottenham world today.
Just finish on Leeds. Can I just finish on Leeds while we're on Leeds? Leeds have said they're in no rush to sign a goalkeeper as they assess potential targets. They have a long list of options, which include Lyon's Lucas Perry and Torino's Vanja Milinkovic-Savic. A goalkeeper would not need the same amount of time to settle in, as he's saying. I mean, look, their goalkeeper looks like he's going. The young goalkeeper, I keep forgetting his name now.
Meslier. Wait, one more time?
No, you do it.
We're off, ladies and gentlemen. The accent game and the name game is well and truly off.
We're off. There's so many names to remember. I love it. I love it in the chat. Yesterday, I made the mistake of saying that Ruud van Nistelrooy, the former Leeds manager, surprised he lasted that long at Leeds when I meant Leicester. I mean, they both start with the letter L, so give me a break.
Give us a chance here. Yeah.
Yeah.
But not drifting away from Leeds. Tottenham Hotspur, Manor Solomon. Look, with the noise that Tottenham Hotspur's captain, Heung-min Son, is apparently staying, he wants to have another crack at the Champions League. It certainly puts a bit of a dent in Tottenham's potential ambitions to get 2 forwards in. But if we still have some ambitions to do that, then there's 2 players that certainly you'd have to think if Solomon's saying no, if Sonny's saying no, I want to stay, then, is Manor Solomon, is he someone that we have to shake hands with the reality of him going? And if so, is there a better fit for him than Leeds United?
Look, Spurs aren't selling him for 15 million. Okay, it's just not happening. Even though they sign him on a free, fantastic bit of business, it's all profit. So I would reckon 20-25 million is probably the number. And if Frank doesn't want him, happy to sell him. Like I said to you, it all depends on what Frank wants.
What do you reckon the number is then? If 15 isn't the number, what's the number for you?
I think 20-25 is the number, to be honest with you. In this, when we're looking at players going for the numbers that they're going for, 20 million is nothing in this market.
Well, how many years have you got left on his contract?
4. 3 or 4.
He's got 3 or 4 years left. No, he can't have that many years left on his contract.
A 5-year contract on a free.
So 2 years ago. So 3 years left then, yeah? Yeah,
3 years left, yeah. So, yeah.
I know he might be around for a while then, to be entirely honest.
Oh, no. Well, we shall see. We shall see. If he's sold, it's extra money coming into the coffers We shall see. So who else have you got there, Sean? There's lots going on. Should we do
lots going on. We got a story. Listen, I think we're going to be talking a lot about Brazilian football for the rest of the summer, mate. It seems to. I've never known a summer like it where so much Brazil or South American activity, but primarily Brazilian, is coming up. And this one today is an interesting one. We spoke about him last week. Leon, number 10, Thiago Almada. We were saying when the Leon news broke that he was on loan from Botafogo. Obviously, Botafogo is owned by John Textor, who also owns did own Crystal Palace and also owns Leon. Well, Botafogo have rejected a €35 million offer from Benfica for Thiago Almada. The Portuguese club are considering a second bid worth around €40 million. I mean, but first and foremost, Benfica might be losing Koku, right? Orkan Koku, who's a player I did a scout report on yesterday, linked with Tottenham. I think he wants to go back to Besiktas. I think he's even said to Benfica that he's willing to take a cut on some of the money that he's owed in order to make that sort of deal happen. But I'm not sure Besiktas have got the money, at least not officially. Maybe they had through Saudi, but
it will be a loan, Sean. Like them all, it will be a loan from Benfica. I'm telling you, they haven't got the money, mate. They haven't got the money. They will not pay anywhere near that sort of money. And Almada, look, let's be honest, right? Portugal has made hundreds and hundreds of millions over the last 10, 15 years by going to South America, buying up the Brazilians at a young age, putting them into the Portuguese team, same language, easy integration, same style of football, and then selling them off for huge profits. And the Premier League cottoned on to this, and they're going direct. You know, we've seen Nottingham Forest have gone direct with Edu, who, by the way, has only just officially started work, which is laughable for Nottingham Forest as their director of football. Yeah, because he's been beavering away for ages. Now he's come up with Igor Jesus, the striker, and Cunha, the centre back there, who played for Botafogo in the World Club Cup. Two good signings. Lots of clubs are going direct. Chelsea, Estavo, the kid that's come in from Palmeiras, another good one. There's lots, and we're buying them up. You know, why would you pay 60, 70, 80 million pound when you can get a deal for 15, 20 million pounds, and maybe even give them a cut? The only problem is, quite honestly, when you're dealing with Brazil, is that quite often they're multi-ownership models. Image rights. When you've got 3 or 4 people, like a consortium, all investing in one player.
It's like owning racehorses, isn't it, almost?
Yeah, correct. It's not allowed over in this country. So you've got that cleansing part. But I'm sure you can get over it when you're buying players, as I said, between 8 and 20 odd million pounds, instead of paying 60, 70 when they come through Portugal.
There's also some value, though, in the traditional model of letting the player come from his hometown in South America, Argentina, Chile, Brazil, Honduras, whatever, letting him move directly into Spain or Portugal, where there's an acclimation process, where they feel closer to home, they feel they can speak the language, and all those sorts of things. And then obviously the negative of that is that if they do smash it and they hit the ground running, then you obviously have to pay 3 or 4 times the money to get him in. However, there is also, I think, that the relative inexperience in Premier League clubs being able to access that market directly, I'm sure over time it will become more smooth and better. But the lack of experience in doing that has led to a few examples of players that have come over with high profiles, but really, really struggled. And I think there's a player at Tottenham right now who's literally going back in the direction that he came from.
Alejo
Veliz, right? So we paid 13 million quid for him. He came in. I think he played 8 games in total, scored 1 or 2 goals.
Very good reputation, but
reputation playing in front of massive crowds in Argentina for Rosario Central. I think he scored the winner in a game against Boca Juniors, I believe. Yeah. So like none of the kind of size of the crowd thing would have fazed him, but it's just the acclamation. But he came in, then he went out on loan to Spain, didn't do it at Espanyol, didn't do it at the second club he went to, and now he's going back on a loan without an obligation back to Rosario Central. So, like I say, it's a good thing in as much as that you can now cut out the middleman, if you like, with Premier League clubs that want to go and access that talent pool. But at the same time, I think the fact that it's a relatively nascent end of the transfer market for English clubs, I think there's going to be mistakes and learning curves and processes. And what I would hope as a Tottenham fan is that you don't have this once bitten, twice shy mentality because you got it wrong with Alejo Veliz. That doesn't mean that you should close the door to that market forever.
Well, look at Chelsea. Chelsea are buying Ecuadorians. They're buying, they're buying Brazilians. Brighton have been doing the model for a long, long time. They look into the family background. They then, when the player comes in, Tony Bloom's very big up on sending them out to his clubs in Belgium. He's now got a stake in Hearts. There are ways and means of nurturing them. And I think it's very clever what Edu has done at Forest by bringing in 2 former teammates of Botafogo who are, very, very good players, and putting them together and putting them in bringing them in so they can acclimatise together. I think it's a good idea. But I think, if you're paying, as I said, between 15 and 20 million, in some cases even less than that, with sell-on clauses and stuff, you can afford to have a couple of mistakes, Sean, if you hit the golden nugget.
Of course, 100%. It's the same principle with your youth team kind of spray and plays. Just Correct. To round off before I bring in the super chat from Mr. Poxoppy, shout out to you, buddy. Hope you're okay. Hope you're less itchy today. Just this Almada story. To me, as I said a couple of weeks ago, there's no chance that Almada's going back to Botafogo. He's going to stay in Europe. He's too good not to be. And with John Tex's financial issues, for me, though, I think that this guy is good enough for the Premier League. And I think that this is what's going to happen. He will become a 60, 70 million pound player. I really do like this guy. When I looked at him on the Y Scout, and I initially didn't realise he was a Botafogo player. I thought he was a Lyon player. But I was like, this guy's insane. He's 100% going to be leaving Lyon. Then I found out he's owned by Botafogo. And now he's looking like they're going to go for 40 million euros. Benfica have an absolute track record, a precedent set, Johnny, 1,000 times over. I think they've sold over something like 1.3 billion euros worth of talent that's come out. Like, they're very happy to sell their best players because they have this conveyor belt coming through Portugal. But for them to go out and spend 40 million on a player, obviously they're looking to replace Koku, who's likely to go, like you said, either on loan to Besiktas, or there are rumours that Premier League clubs are looking. Koku, by the way, is an absolute rock star of a footballer, and it'd be a real shame to see him go back to Turkey and not to test his level.
Some people get homesick, and they just can't hack it. And it's hard enough for young kids, to stay within England and move from a small club. They get the big move. And, the transition is very hard. They're away from your friends and your family. And, it's very difficult. And I always think that there should be, it's one of the things that clubs need to really get a handle on is, looking after your players, especially the young ones. And I think that's something, as I said before, that I think Brighton do exceptionally well at and get rewarded for, they bring them in. Anyway, we shall see. I think he's a good player. The other one for me, who I think clubs should be all over, and I'm a massive fan of, is Richard Rios, Palmeiras. What an 8 he is. I mean, honestly, I can't see how he's going to stay at Palmeiras for much longer. He's not going to. No, I think that there were stories out last night that about 12 clubs are looking at him. There's going to be a bidding war for this guy. He's so classy, and the rocket of a shot that he's got on him. I remember looking at him, I don't know, 6 months ago, I think it was, when the links first, maybe it was in January window when the links first started coming.
I ran him through the Wisecut, mate. This guy has got a ping on him. He can smash the ball in that kind of that the way that they hit the valve. I forget the word for it. Pivot ball or whatever it is when people smash the valve of the ball. Like Ronaldo does it from free kicks when it's placed ball. He can do it from a rolling ball sensation. And the ball just flies through the air and dances as it goes towards the keeper. He's just a wonderful striker of the ball. Semenyo's ability to strike the ball is very, very good. This guy, for me, from distance, is just a joy to behold.
I mean, he was playing futsal, right, in Colombia until 2018, and he was found playing in an under-20 futsal competition by Flamenco in 2019. So he's just come straight into the football, and like a duck to water. His skill set is ridiculous. Honestly, it was one of the highlights of watching the Club World Cup for me. Very unlucky, went out to Chelsea with that double deflection own goal late in the game.
Mm-hmm.
I would have loved to have seen them progress in the competition, but he's a player that's definitely going to a big club. So here's the super chat.
Yeah, Mr. Pox Office says, Sully, I'll add 25% in add-ons if we win the Champions League.
There's a Daniel Levy
for a second, haven't we, Johnny? Like, that's just a shameless. It's those sorts of things that if they're true, then like it doesn't matter where you sit on the Daniel Levy spectrum. Like if he genuinely thinks that when you put in 55 plus 5 and it gets rejected, and he's like, okay, fair enough, I'll come back with something better. 55 plus 12, but the other 8 million are on outcomes and conditions and covenants that are never going to ever materialize in the lifetime of the contract. Like what? Like it's just disrespectful to the intelligence of the counterparty, isn't it? Yeah. And it can also be the genesis of burning bridges. Like that's how you end up like making someone go, forget him. Like I can't deal with this bozo. Like what are we do? It's a waste of everyone's time. Why are you sending that through? You're not winning the league. You're not winning the Champions League. So shut up.
We actually had an extra 5% if we won the Davis Cup.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like ridiculous.
Exactly. Knuckleball. Is that the phrase? Is that the phrase I was looking for? Knuckleball. I think it might have been knuckleball. Is that the phrase where they smash it from the valve? I don't know. That might be it. Interesting story, mate. Igor Paixão, the player, the Brazilian guy plays for Feyenoord, linked with Tottenham a little while ago. 28 million euros. Marseille have offered to sign him. The Dutch club haven't responded yet. It's one of those. This is coming from L'Equipe. Marseille, obviously, look, there's a lot of teams that are going to be selling players out of France. Some other players are willing to go there. Not a dead league just yet, no?
No, Marseille, listen, Marseille are quite strong. Marseille are signing players. Monaco have turned themselves into a rehabilitation retreat in Monaco, signing anyone or everyone who's had a past. They got Ansu Fati, they got Pogba. They were trying to look at getting Onana, and they're looking for a couple of other players who, let's just say, have fallen on bad times. But listen, PSG strong as anything. Just while we're on PSG, just quickly, I cannot see with Juventus having so many wingers and not having the money, how they can possibly do the deal for Kolo Muani. They just can't do it. I know they're trying to get rid of Vlahovic, but I wonder whether later on in this window, when it turns out that they can't afford him, Juventus, whether a big team in the Premier League is going to come for Kolo Muani. Because make no mistake, he turned up at PSG in that January transfer window and he absolutely smashed it. He's an absolute baller. He's at a good age. And I wonder whether, that's one, Sean, that could end up being a last-minute big deal that no one's really talking about at the moment, because everyone just assumes that he's going to be stuck at Juventus now. But they're not going to. Why would you? If your player's worth 85 million and you've had a year on loan and you can't fulfill any obligation, but it's an option, should I say? you're not going to give him another year and devalue your player because he's going down in value, right?
Well, it depends on the size of the loan fee, doesn't it? And the loan fee often pays for the amortization, and it helps you out in a different way. But
Still.
yeah, I mean, there's certainly a tactic that people are using with regards. You amortize on the 1 year, you get some loan fee in. It kind of creates like a double swing on if you're worried about FFP. But I don't think Juve are worried about that. I think they haven't got the money. Rather than it's not the wiggle room, it's the money that they don't have. So. Yeah, I'd be surprised, mate. I mean, I don't really know. I don't know what the situation is, but yeah, look, if he ends up not going to Juve on the permanent, look, he's a striker that can play off the left or the right. I think he'd be very well sought after at a lot of places. I wonder whether or not Bayern Munich might look at him. You know, they've got some issues with Musiala. They're trying to find a new left winger anyway. They've had troubles that they don't want Rashford. They were turned down apparently by Kudus. If they're looking for someone like Kudus and Kolo Muani, are not that dissimilar. I think Muani's probably a better 9, but and Kudus is more of a deeper player that can play a bit of everywhere else. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Kolo Muani end up in the Premier League. I actually wouldn't even be hating on the idea of him. Maybe end up at Tottenham, mate. You know, I think that if Tottenham could...
I mean, listen, Sean, let's be serious, right? I mean, this player is a serious upgrade on everyone we've been linked with. I mean,
and everyone we've got as well.
Yeah. I mean, the guy cost 95 million euros from Frankfurt. You know, even in the Club World Cup, he only had 3 games, 2 goals, 1 assist. The guy's a machine, okay? He doesn't stop delivering. He can play as a false 9, a left wing or right wing. And I'm just wondering, by the way, the loan fee Juventus was only 3.6 million for the 6 months. So that's not really going to help them. I just wondered whether maybe a cheeky 60 million pound. We're getting these numbers, 50, 60 million pounds being touted around for, you know, as a Spurs fan.
50 million pound means you're not in the top tier. 60 or above means you're a top tier player. That's what you figured out, right?
What I'm saying to you is, if Kudus is 60 million, that's what West Ham want, I'd be more inclined to put a 60 million bid in for Kolo Muani. Or if I was Manchester United, Kolo Muani is a better player than Brian Mbeumo, and he's a better player than Kudus. I think watch that one because I think that one's got legs.
Could he end up at Manchester United, do you think?
Well, he could do if they can release some money. Right now, they're a victim of their own stupidity in the transfer market, paying over the odds in fees and well over the odds in wages. So we shall see. But he's a top player.
Latest on the Dutch forward link to Newcastle, Juice worth the squeeze.
We love the squeeze on this show. And while you're there, smash the granny out the like button. Smash the granny has been cleared as not passive aggressive. It's a friendly, fun comment. Right, who we got next?
Celtic have been told Manchester United would accept just 3 million squizzolis for out of favour fullback Tyrell Malacia. I mean, especially the sort of trouble that they're in. Let's move on from that one, though. Arsenal are working on a payment structure for a bid that could allow them to sign Eberechi Eze without a substantial sale this summer. So this is big news, mate. Big news. I don't know if you can shed light. This is from The Independent, but apparently the 2020-20 rule, hindsight is 2020-20 apparently, with 8 in add-ons. Even that's too much of a kind of burden for Arsenal, absent a sale of either Martinelli or Trossard, especially if they're going to go and sign Noni Madueke, who we're going to talk about in a second. What's your thoughts on this one?
Mate, they're signing Gyökeres, right? They're going to sign Gyökeres. They've managed to convince Gyökeres to chuck away £2 million to help them finance the deal to sign him, which is crazy. They've signed Zubimendi. Mascara, they're looking at buying from Valencia. They've signed Norgard. They've signed Kepa. They're going to sign Noni Madueke. All right. Where's all this money coming from, huh? Where's all this money coming from? But
they probably made 120 million from the Champions League, didn't they? And they probably also made
So it's a big spend, Sean. They've been doing it every year.
For the merit payments. They probably made a lot in prize money last year.
But they're still making they're making big expenditure. It's year on year on year on year on year, right?
Yeah.
If they pull off this, I would say that they might well be favourites to win the Premier League this season. If they pull off Eze, None, Gyökeres, Zubamendi, Mascara, Norgard, and Kepa. I mean, that's a serious recruitment. And recruitment that most clubs could only dream of, especially our club Spurs.
I'm not that convinced by Mosquera from what I've seen of him. I think he's one of those kind of maybe.
They don't need him though. They don't need him, Sean. They don't need him. They've got, they had one of the best defences in the Premier League. They've got plenty of options, but it adds fuel to it. But as far as Eze is concerned, if they can add him, they've got no Shodegaard and Eze vying for the 10 position. And if he drifts out left and comes inside, they've got so many options. Noni's going to play out on the right. I think it will be Martinelli that funds most of that transfer fee. Will he go to Saudi Arabia? He probably would like to think that he could potentially get into the Brazil squad for the World Cup. So maybe he doesn't fancy going to Saudi. So where does that leave him? That leaves him Bayern Munich. I still would not rule out Bayern Munich coming in for Eze. As we spoke about yesterday with Musiala's terrible ankle injury. They're short. They didn't get Florian Wirtz. They've let Sane go. Matthias Tell's gone. And we all know what a fantastic relationship Michael Elise had with at Crystal Palace when they were both fit. For me, that would be a fantastic signing for Bayern Munich. It's just whether or not he would want to go out and ply his trade in Germany. That would be the question.
Yeah, 100%. Just quickly on the news around. Sorry, I'm just trying to think what his name is now. Gyökeres. There we go. Gyökeres is Arsenal are edging closer. Here's the story: Arsenal are edging closer to the deal, but it's still not confirmed yet. It's the deal is agreed to with the player. Everyone's talking about it as like it's done. It's not done. It's not done. And we know what Varandas is like, mate. I'm sure it's going to happen, but at what price point? So the first proposal, 65 million and bonuses, was not enough.
Correct.
Sporting wants 70 million euros guaranteed plus 10 in add-ons. However, talks are continuing and moving in the right direction. Where do you reckon it's going to land, mate? That's 70 plus 10 in euros, and they've offered 65 plus 5. What do you reckon it'll be? Like, is it going to be 70 plus 5? Essentially, is that what it's going to be?
Look, Arsenal are pleading poverty, and they're wealthy, and Sporting aren't. And Sporting have every right to get that number because that's what he's worth. He's been an absolute gold machine. And as I said just before, Gyökeres has given up £2 million in bonuses and stuff to allow Arsenal to be closer to the price that Sporting want. And stop messing around, Arsenal. Go and pay the money. That's what it is. I don't think that's a lot of money. When you're looking at 120 million for Florian Wirtz, I know he's much older, but it's not a question of, does he have talent? He's more than just a goal scorer. He's a physical presence. If you haven't seen Gyökeres' physicality, then you need to have a look. He's a beast. And I actually think he's going to absolutely tear it up in the Premier League. I've said already, I wouldn't be amiss to actually have a bet on him finishing top goal scorer.
Oh, on that, sorry, mate. I'm not sure if I should do this on the stream or otherwise, but I actually received a... Let me see if I can find it quickly. Someone sent me a comment. I think I find it here. Someone sent me a comment saying, please make sure... Have you seen it?
Yeah, no, not yet. Go on.
Someone sent me a comment saying, can you please let Jonny know that I'll take his bet on... Who was it who said it? I've got it. Hang on. I've got it somewhere. I'm going to find it throughout the show. There's a couple of things I've got to do during the show. Someone said, please let Jonny know that I will take his bet on Gyökeres not being top goal scorer.
Okay. Make yourself known.
I'll find it.
If you're in the chat, guys, if you're in the chat and you haven't hit the like button, please hit the like button. And if you're here for the first time or you stumbled upon us through default or through a referral, please hit the subscribe button. Help us grow this channel.
I wanted to ask you this, mate. John McGinn. Everton have made a move for Aston Villa's John McGinn. The Midlands club have indicated they would like to keep hold of him, but that they are open-minded to the prospect of him leaving. This is from The Athletic.
Well, let's be honest, Sean.
I tell you what, mate. Just real quick. If you're going to offer me anybody from Aston Villa, right? Anybody. I'm talking Ollie Watkins. I'm talking Amadou Onana. I'm talking Jacob Ramsey. For what Tottenham need? I fucking love John McGinn, mate. I think he is an absolute monster. He is so underrated, so powerful.
He's a good player. Listen, I'd rather have Morgan Rogers, but that's by the by. If you were going to design on AI an archetypical David Moyes signing, McGinn would be him. He's 100% designed in the mould for his type of football. He'd be a brilliant acquisition for them. But we know that
he's 30 years old, so he's not.
Obviously. And let's be honest. Thanks Belly81 for the subscription. Really appreciate it. I think in the position that they're in right now, Aston Villa, it might make sense to get rid of him. Just to get some fees in, I don't know. Aston Villa still need to offload players. Bailey was the one that we thought would be one of the first out the door. Maybe Emi Martinez and maybe Jacob Ramsey. We shall see. But right now, nothing seems to have happened with Villa at the moment, which is kind of strange. Not sure what the time structure is for Aston Villa to get their accounts back in order. They've got till January, isn't it, Sean, for the UEFA? But for the Premier League, they might need to do some. I think
they'll be fine because they've sold their women's clubs. So for the Premier League stuff, it's kind of irrelevant. Like no one talking about the Premier League rules anytime soon. It's stupid now.
Yeah.
But I can't find the comment, mate.
Don't worry.
Whoever it was, he wants to bet. He wants to bet with you.
That's fine.
I wanted to move forward to Tierno Barry is also trapped with Everton just now. 32.5 million euros plus bonuses. Tierno Barry, medical at Everton. I think this guy's going to be a really interesting player, mate. Like I said to you on yesterday's show, I don't want to be a defender up against him. He's a proper heavyweight, probably like a nuisance, and I think he'd just be exhausting to have to mark against, and just be you'd come out of that 90-minute battle in a bit of with some cuts and bruises. Do you think Everton are a threat of relegation next season, or do you think they'll be okay?
I'm not even considering them. Not even considering. They'll be in the new stadium, and I think they've got the perfect custodian in David Moyes to take them on, stabilise them like he did last season. He came in for Sean Dyche, and many people saying, look, it's not about Sean Dyche. This is going to be a hardship to turn around, and he did a fantastic job. And listen, he's been so underrated. The thing is, I think, he was so highly rated, and that journey to Manchester United to try and replace the unreplaceable Alex Ferguson, I think, played with his reputation. But for me, it was a minor blip. The guy's done a fantastic job wherever he's gone, and he's doing so here. And he's moulding the team into how he likes to play football. Hard to beat, tough tackling, and as I said, John McGinn's perfect for him.
I've got to be honest, Johnny. So just quickly, Stephen Gage, mate. I'm not letting myself down. First of all, his name's not John Magin. His name's John Muggin, MCGINN as a comment. But mate, he is a baller of a footballer, mate. He is responsible for so much of Aston Villa's pedigree. The reason why they're so tough to beat is because he's a bruiser of a midfielder. He's an absolute bruiser, Stephen. So I respectfully disagree. For those of you listening on podcast, I'm just calling up a comment that's calling me. He's saying that I've let myself down by suggesting that John McGinn is a good player. I think John McGinn he's 30, so he's not coming to Tottenham. He's not that sort of profile, but I'm just saying he's a very good player.
I think he's suggesting you need to go and sit on the naughty step and he'll have a word with you and I'll take over from here. Look, for me, Morgan Rogers is the man for me that makes that side tick in the middle. But listen, John McGinn, really good player. And
John McGinn's been doing it for 3 years, mate.
Yeah, no, I
understand on the block.
I understand that.
Manchester United are the Premier League club to have shown the most interest. This is again, according to The Athletic. So we have to take it seriously. €52 million release clause that can only be triggered up until the 15th of July. Apparently, Fiorentina have said that if the clause isn't triggered, he isn't leaving. Is this another example, mate? Is this another example of Manchester United waiting, putting self-imposed deadlines on certain things, but the ball is in their court anyway because their last offer for people like Mbeumo was rejected? Brentford now thinking, hang about, Leeds, Burnley, Sunderland, might be a little bit of jeopardy. Is this one of these situations where they should shit or get off the pot? And unfortunately, they didn't do either. And now they might end up missing out. They've got 7 days to be able to get this guy if they want him. Moise Kean, ex-Everton player, funnily enough. Didn't really smash it at Everton. No. Went over to Italy, grew up, filled out, and he's a beast over in Italy. Whether he can do it at the Premier League is another question, though.
I think they need Moises Kean. Moses. I think they need Moses. I think you need Moses Kean to part the shitty transfers that they got before they can start going for him. I think it's just a bit of posturing to say, look, we have other options. But Brentford will stand tall, I reckon, and they won't be bullied. They can't afford to be bullied, as we see. 5 members of Brentford's staff have now left. Another one today, the medical guy, has gone. They've lost,
hasn't he?
Yeah, the medical guy's gone, but they've also lost Norgard, their captain. They've lost their manager, and they could well lose Mbeumo. And Visser's in his last year of his contract, so it's transition to come. I think if Man United want him, you've got to pay the money. Simple as. And Man United, I thought when they came out the traps with Cunha and they're going for Mbeumo, I actually thought they could have a really, really good season. But they're tied now with how badly they've handled their finances. And no one will shed any sympathy for a struggling Man United. I'm sorry. No one.
Yeah. I think Aston Villa fan in the house. He absolutely came alive in our Champions League match. This is back to John McGinn. And even PSG mentioned how hard he was to play against. Well, him and that arse of his. He's got the biggest arse and the biggest legs in football, that guy. I think the only arse that's maybe comparable is Brian Mbeumo, funnily enough.
Bit of breaking news. Sunderland have signed Atletico defender Mandeva. Sunderland have signed left-back Ronaldo Mandeva from Atletico Madrid on a 2-year contract. Ronaldo moved to the Spanish capital in 2022 and has made 99 appearances across all competitions, including 32 last season, where he featured regularly in La Liga and the Champions League.
Ronaldo's, I think he's 32 years old or something. He's older guy. Mate. He is... I think we spoke about him before. If you go and watch, I think it was in Lens's season when they took PSG to the last day a few years ago. He was one of the guys that were responsible. He was insane, and he had this iconic moment where he's on the floor already, like trying to, he's basically like already stretched out on the floor, and then if the ball falls to someone to have a shot, and he basically like worms himself away, and then gets his head just in the way of the shot before it gets to the goal. He then went to La Liga and was one of their best players last season. A really, really solid left back to do a bit of everything. Very cultured.
So what I was going to say was, we said that the teams that have been promoted this season are doing it in the correct way. They are buying experience defensively, first and foremost.
Yeah, build a wall.
This is a guy who's played Champions League football. He's played in the World Club Cup. He's played in La Liga. He's played against the best. Playing for Sunderland in the Premier League will not faze him one jot. And it's the experience that they need if they're going to have any chance of staying up. And I must tell you, I'll tip my hat off to Sunderland because I thought there was absolutely no way that they were going to spend the money or they could do much because that squad was so weak coming up from the Championship. I thought they were one of the weaker teams that were in the playoffs. But they've done it and they're spending the money and they're going.
They sold Joe Bellingham, didn't they, for like 40 million quid to Dortmund.
Ronaldo was Lille, not Lens.
Was it Lille? Was it? Sorry, yeah, I was getting those two mixed up. But yes, same story though, just the wrong team. Joe Bellingham is was obviously the catalyst for their like they obviously they got the money from coming up, and also they got their 45 million they got for Joe Bellingham. I think Dortmund paid. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I mean, Sunderland doing the right things, mate. And as our Leeds, as our Burnley, but all three teams making really good movements, really good transfers. And it'll be, like I say, it's going to be a fascinating battle at the bottom. Nottingham Forest, mate. After we spoke yesterday, the second we came off the stream, it was basically confirmed. Anthony Elanga, we knew it was happening anyway. Elanga has gone for 55 million. Immediately, Forest are targeting PSV winger Johan Bakayoko as the replacement. This is from Jay Percy of The Telegraph. Now, Bakayoko, mate, was a player that they were looking to bring in last year, ended up going for Elanga instead. So, it's funny how things go sort of full 180 or 360, however you want to think of it. But I'm looking forward to seeing Bakayoko in the Premier League. He's a terror. He's going to terrorise wingers, take-ons. He's a little bit of like a Dharma Traore in terms of just scary with his pace, scary with the ball at his feet. But whether he has the output, 2 seasons ago, Bakayoko was insane with his output. Last season, not so much. But it's about time he came into the Premier League, and I think Forest have got a decent replacement there if they get him. Thoughts? Yeah,
I mean, he's a good player. I think they're doing good business, and I think that the clubs now have done decent scouting and decent recruitment on both sides. Leeds have got another signing, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned it. For Lille left back Gabriel Gudmundsson, paying 10 million for the Swedish international. The 26-year-old is expected to become Leeds' 4th signing of the summer so far, not including the ones today. I mentioned have made contact over the signing Hoffenheim's Anton Stach, but they're also, as we said, in for Longstaff. Which is great stuff. And another one which was quite interesting, Brighton's forgotten £100 million man, Evan Ferguson. Remember when Brighton were quoting £100 million for the goal machine? And suddenly,
Roma, isn't it? Is it Roma?
Yeah, so Brighton striker Evan Ferguson is now a target for Roma this summer. He spent the second half at West Ham, didn't really do much. There went a potential move for the 20-year-old who's been offered to them on loan. I mean, still only 20 years of age, and we're talking about a player that's fallen off of a cliff. Such is the hype for an 18-year-old. I just think sometimes fans get ahead of themselves, build them up and smash them down, and we forget, the peak of a player, especially defenders, defenders don't normally peak until they're about 26 years of age. Same with strikers, midfielders. And yet fans, we tend to write players off at 20, 21 years of age, which is absolutely ludicrous.
Yeah.
He is a guy whose confidence has fallen off a cliff. One person whose confidence hasn't fallen off a cliff, but the market has, is that Napoli have rejected Galatasaray's bid for Osimhen. I don't know if we did that. It was 47.3 million for the bid. The Turkish club, who had Osimhen on loan last season, proposed an initial 43 million with 4.3 million in add-ons. And when we look at the amount of money that all the other strikers are going for, I think Napoli are well within their right to, refuse a bid of 47 million pound.
100%.
They continue to ask for their 64.5 million litres to be triggered. Al Hilal still remain interested, even though he's, rejected them. I'm not sure what you think on that one, Sean.
No, listen, I think that, I think Napoli want him to go to Saudi. I think Saudi want him to go. He doesn't want to go there. He wants to go to Galatasaray. Galatasaray don't want to pay the money. And I think it's just one of these things where you have three parties that are needed to all be in agreement on a transfer. I don't know why, if I'm Osimhen, I don't know really what's the difference between playing for Galatasaray or playing in Saudi. Like, you're not playing at the highest level regardless. You might play in the Champions League with Galatasaray, but that's only going to be 8 games. You're not going to qualify into the last stages. So for me, I think he ends up probably at Saudi, but I think Saudi come back and give him an additional 100 grand a week to keep him happy. But I think I genuinely agree. I agree with you 100% that the price point that they're asking for him is not that significant relative to what else is going on in the market right now. I think the market looks to be a certain price point, and he's 100%. He's in that top ilk. Kolo Muani, whether you think of him as a striker or a forward, but just for example, like this story here is from Republica. PSG are demanding north of 50 million euros to sell Randall Kolo Muani. So on that basis, if it's a bargain, isn't it? It's an absolute bargain. That's 40 million quid.
I'd be dumping Kudos. I would be making a complete right turn to buying Kolo Muani, right? He's done both. 95 million they paid for him from Eintracht Frankfurt. He's done the bits. He's gone to Juventus, arrived there in January, bang, 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 bang the goals in. He's gone to the World Club Cup. He's played 3 games, 2 goals, 1 assist. He's an absolute monster. He can play, as I say, as a false 9, left wing, right wing. He'll have no problem with physicality.
I think primarily, mate, when he was pitched in January, he was pitched by people as being, he's not as good as a striker. He's more of a left winger. Well, that wasn't how Juve played him, and it certainly wasn't how he got his results, right? So for me, if I'm Tottenham Hotspur, the only thing that puts me off this deal is the fact that he turned us down. But you know what? Sometimes respect the pecking order of politics in football. Juve are a bigger draw than Tottenham, even though Juve ended up paying, I think, none of his wages, and Tottenham were willing to pay all of his wages, or whatever the deal, what that crazy deal that ended up happening. If he would come to Tottenham now, you don't, because Kudos is also incredibly valuable. I know you're a little bit unsure about
the same league, mate. I'm sorry, it's not in the same league.
I'm not saying it is, but like, if it's an either or, if you're already advanced, but then at the same time, West Ham are probably getting pissed off with Daniel Levy offering, like a banana and a fucking a melon and a pair of grapes or whatever. Like, it's ridiculous. But if you can go and get both of them, then you can go and sell Richarlison. If you can get Richarlison to take a deal somewhere, then you could go, you suddenly have an incredibly versatile, valuable, and interesting forward line.
All I can say is if I was Man United right now, I'd be jettisoning Mbuena and going to get Randall Kolo Muani. No two ways about it. Jide has mentioned in the comments, for fuck's sake, Johnny, was it the fans who bigged up you and Evan Ferguson? It was the club and his agent. I never said the fans bigged him up. I said we as fans big up players, right? That are coming through, and then when they don't make it, we knock them down. I didn't say this player in particular was picked up by fans, but there was a lot of hype around him. And yeah, the press are guilty of it, but we are buyers of the press, and we read it, and we read the clickbait, and so we fuel that.
They put £100 million asking price on him, so it's the club, isn't it?
It's the club and the agent, yeah, club and the agent. But a lot of people were buying into it anyway.
I remember Big Dave, Irish Dave. I love him to pieces. He was saying he always calls me out for my take on Gift Orban. He always never lets me forget about Gift Orban, but I'm never going to let him forget about Evan Ferguson. I think the Irish part, the Irish pride in him was saying that Tottenham should go and spend whatever it takes to get Evan Ferguson.
How about this one, Sean?
Yeah,
Crystal Palace are leading the race to sign free agent right back David Calabria. Calabria de AC Milan ran out last month after he spent the season on loan at Bologna. And Palace faced competition from Spanish clubs Celta Vigo, Real Betis and Mallorca for the 28-year-old. Calabria made 27 appearances last season for Bologna in all competitions. He was the captain, as we know, of Milan.
Yep.
And at 28 years of age, plenty of legs left in. And listen, what you want is experience. And, I think, that's where a lot of clubs have been going wrong. They've been buying lots and lots of kids and lacking experience. And you need the experience to see out games, to know when to take the ball into touch, when to go down, and how to lead players through tricky situations in the last 10, 15 minutes. And I think that would be a really good signing for Crystal Palace. And again, there won't be mega money, Sean.
Yeah, he's a good passer of the ball. He's intricate from my knowledge of him. He doesn't do much in the way of output going forward. I think I'm just looking at his stats on.
Look, we know if you're captain of AC Milan, right? You're not an also-ran, right? It's as simple as that.
He played 220 games in Serie A between Milan and Bologna. But he came up, so he left. So yeah, it was 10 years he was at from AC Milan's youth team. Then he progressed into their first team. 10 years there, then went to Bologna on loan, and now he's been released. But 9 goals and 21 assists in 220 odd games. It's not a massive output in terms of attacking wise, but I'm just looking at his stats on FB Refs.
I've got to say though, when you say he was released, he actually run down his contract. Sure. He wouldn't sign a new contract. It's not, because Canate, for example, will run down his contract, and so will what's the name at Crystal Palace, the defender.
He's not. But he's a good passer of the ball. So all I know is he's a good passer of the ball, but I don't know much more than that.
No, listen, he's more of a defender. Quite interesting one. Quite a funny one. Ruben Amorim has pulled the plug on the Netflix documentary, which I thought was quite funny.
Oh yeah,
it's an absolute shit show down at Man United, and he just pulled the plug on the secret deal with Amazon. It was such a secret, everyone knew about it. Over an Access all-area documentary, due to concerns over whether the timing was appropriate amid the team's struggles in recent years. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Like, you've got...
He's so much regretting being there. I think he's just out of his depth. Like, he was a big fish in a small pond, and now he's gone to the main island, and he's like, what the fuck am I doing here? I
think everyone's out of their depth there. I mean, it's an absolute shit show. You've got a pile of players there they can't get rid of. You've got an owner who's getting rid of everyone from the tea lady to the car park attendant, and trying to cut, get rid of the sauce, get rid of the mayonnaise.
Mate, but to cancel a deal that was worth how much? 60 million?
Yeah, apparently it was big money.
For him to say, I don't want that, I don't want people in my dressing room, I don't want cameras in there because I'm not sure we're in the right spot. What does that fucking tell you about his confidence?
I mean, listen, look, Man United are an absolute mess at the moment. And I love the way Manchester United have put a 30 million price tag on Andre Onana. And he's decided he wants to stay. But there's no way they want to keep him. There's no way that he's their first choice. If they had the funds right now, they'd be outing him. Maybe if they drop their price from 30 million to something reasonable, like 20 million, Monaco can take him, and then they can put that 20 million to maybe Emi Martinez.
The one name apparently that won't be on the list, mate, is that Ter Stegen, the Barcelona goalkeeper, who's owed millions. He says he's not leaving. I'm not leaving. This player power thing. He's put his heels in the sand like Bugsy Malone when it's time to go home. He's not interested in going home. Ter Stegen is not interested in leaving Barcelona. So there's another top goalkeeper that's going to be sort of chalked off of the list. It creates more problems for Barcelona. It creates more issues for people that are trying to move their goalkeeper on, thinking that they can get a cheap, valuable player in instead.
They signed Szczesny for a 2-year contract. This is a guy who retired. They talked him out of retirement to come to Barcelona. He did his year. They've signed him up for another 2 years. I'll tell you how desperate it is. Barcelona are struggling to sort out the £2 million for Rooney Badaj from Copenhagen. I don't know whether they're going to pay the $2 million over 5 years.
5 years, yeah.
I'm not sure what they're doing, but
I'll tell you what we'll do. I'll tell you what we'll do, Copenhagen. We'll give you a box. We'll give you a box in the new stadium in 5 years' time. You can have that for 10 years. How about
that? I think listen, this Rooney Badaj, right? He comes with a lot of baggage, Sean, as I've said to you before. I think what they'll do, they'll take him for the 2 million. They'll try to rehabilitate him, and that will be a player that you can see leaving them probably in the next 2 years for like £30 million. I think that's what will happen.
Well, as long as he stays injury free.
Yeah,
that's the big one, isn't it?
Serious injury. If you're in the chat, guys, if you haven't hit the like button, hit that like button, please.
Yeah, please smash the granny out of the like, guys. We really appreciate it. Roma, according to this one, Johnny from Damasio, will come forward to try to sign Rasmus Højlund in the next few days. United's £45 million valuation is too high for them, so they will try to sign him on an initial loan deal. Loan deals are the new it's the new thing, isn't it? Everyone just wants a cheeky loan because no one wants to pay valuations. It's almost like credit card living lifestyle. Because I'm sure that these loan deals come with loan fees that are somewhat prohibitive in their cash flow. But like, you'll get a guy for a year, you'll wind down the because it's almost like you have to think about the mechanics of a loan deal, right? If somebody else has overpaid for a player massively, like Rasmus Højlund, let's use that case in point, 70 million on a 5-year deal, then that amortizes £15 million a year, right? Just to make for easy round numbers. So if Manchester United are desperate to get some of their money back, but the other club goes, I'm not giving you the money that you want because you made the mistake of overpaying for him. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll give you £5 million as a loan fee. It's becoming the new thing because ultimately what that does is it gives the club £5 million in cash, but it also allows them to amortize the process down by an extra 15 million, which essentially allows them to spend 5 times the 5 million when they're only lose. So it's 25 million pound in cash equivalents in the multiplier whilst you're amortizing it down. So it's almost like a good for the goose, good for the gander, in that the buying club who screwed up initially knows that they're not ever going to be able to get their money, but can't make the transfer permanent because it's better for them to amortize the mistake down aggressively over the 5 years. Plus, the cheaper fee for the new buying club is like a short-term cash outlay that can get the benefit of a player in a new environment. But you know what I mean? Like it's
I disagree,
it's a weird scenario.
I disagree, Sean. I think Man United have completely and utterly screwed up, and the loans suit European football who do not have the money, and they feed off the carcasses of the Premier League mistakes. They circle like buzzards, waiting and circling until they find a club like Manchester United who's got assets that no one's going to get rid of. We said weeks ago that Man United want to get rid of Højlund, but I said to you they will never get rid of him for a fee. It'll only be a loan. And that loan doesn't help Manchester United. It does help them, though. It doesn't help them as much as what they really need is the money, right? Because they will not. They will not pay the. Listen, they will be paying. They will be paying towards the wages as well. They will not be paying that wage. They will be paying a small transfer fee, and Manchester United will be contributing towards that wage. So what I'm saying to you is, this is what's happening in Europe right now. If we wanted to loan players, you know, Juventus had to do a lot of dealing to get Kolo Muani on loan, right? They paid €3.6 million for a player that they bought for 95 million euros. They only paid 3.6 million for him on loan. Not a massive amount. And PSG had to fork out the majority of his wages. So I'm just saying to you, he's on a big wage. They paid 77 million euros for him. I don't see how this... You get one player out, but what Man United need is they need cash. They need cash.
I hear you. I think you're missing.
I don't think 5 million. I don't think 3 or 5 million. You know, even if it's 5 million euros, 5 million euros is not going to alleviate the issue that Man United have, because they then going to need to go and buy a striker, and unless they're getting in a Dominic Calvert-Lewin or someone of that ilk, they're getting in for free, it's not going to help them much.
Well, no, but I think you're missing my point, mate. My point was...
Oh, I do get your point. I'm just saying...
I'm not sure you did, because I think you're saying... I think we're talking about two different things. I agree that the situation is troublesome for Manchester United and anybody that has overspent. Obviously, if you fucked up and you spent £70 million on a player that is nothing like it, then it's obviously going to be a headache that you're going to have to wear through. Like that's going to be an issue that's going to be an ever-present part of it. But in terms of the loan fee, what it can provide, obviously the best case scenario.
No, I know.
The best case scenario would be to be able to sell the player for the price that you think is viable, but it's not going to be viable for anyone else because they know the leverage is in their hands. However, if you can get a £5 million fee or a £10 million fee, that's cash immediately into your account. You can spin that into the 5 times multiplier that comes with the amortization process and allow you to do something else. It's not perfect, but at the same time, you are amortizing your player spend down at £15 million a year in the case of Højlund. And so in terms of cash, it doesn't really change anything. But in terms of PSR, in terms of those things, it does have a double whammy that is suitable in a bad situation.
No, I totally get that. But Man United need cash. You know, Tottenham are a situation where we've got massive PSR.
Man United have got cash. Man United have got cash. They just haven't got the wiggle room. Man United, they've got 740 million quid's worth of revenue, mate. Like they're a cash out.
Hang on, he had to put in a whole load of money. He had to put a whole load of money in.
Who did?
Ratcliffe.
When he bought the company.
Yeah, no, he had to put more money in.
He hasn't diluted the shareholders. He's got his initial stake done. But like at the end of the day, mate, the Glaziers they're taking out over £1 billion in cash in dividends, and they can still go and pay whatever they have been able to pay whatever they want. Man United generating cash has never been an issue.
No, I understand that, but there was a reason why he laid off 400 staff. There was a reason why he's cut back on everything because of cash flow and having ready available cash. So what I'm saying is that the 5 million for Højlund, which is all they're going to get if they're lucky, right, for a loan fee, and they're going to have to contribute, won't alleviate them massively because they've still got him, they've still got Xerxes, they've still 100%. Got Anthony,
I agree
still got Casemiro, you know, and you know they've been let down.
Absent a better outcome, which they're not going to get because Højlund's a shit show. They massively overspent on him. They massively overspent on Anthony. They're like
Jadon Sancho.
They massively overspent everywhere, right? So we're in agreement, mate. I think we're just coming at it from a different angle. Yeah. And it's just in terms of like the best case scenario for them would be able to like whitewash their mistakes, but that's not going to happen. That's the reality that they have to face. But in terms of if you're looking at a loan fee, obviously the clubs that are looking at players like Højlund and going, I ain't paying 40 million quid because you paid 70. The guy's only worth 30. He only ever was worth 30. He was 19 when you signed him. He's not like you went silly. I'm not wearing your mistakes. So fuck that. Fuck you. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll give you 5 million quid. And in so doing that, they get the option to take a look, a try before you buy. But Manchester United, if you're looking for any way to spin it, is that they can then take that 5 million and use the amortization multiplier, and at the same time amortize 15 million more off their wage.
Turkey's been living for years. That's why they had 1 week after everyone closes their transfer window, because they also circle like buzzards to look at all the players that clubs needed to get rid of that they couldn't get rid of, and they come to the club with some deal. Take it or leave it. I'll pay you 2 million loan, and we'll pay half of his wages. And that's what's going on in Turkey. But what I'm saying is the Premier League is paying the big bucks. But when it comes to trying to get rid of them, Europe pleads poverty, and they come to us and say, well, we can only loan your players. We can't buy them. And, you know, Man United are unfortunately in a situation right now where no one wants to buy their players and pay the number. So,
do you think Kolo Muani will be more likely to go back to Juventus on a loan, or do you think he'll be more likely to be sold into the Premier League at the same price that PSG want from Juve? Or do you think PSG would turn around to a Tottenham or a United or whoever else and say, no, your Premier League clubs, I want more?
I think they'd ask for more. The point is, look, they paid 95 million euros for Eintracht Frankfurt. They paid 3.6 million for the loan and paid half of his wages at Juventus. The fact of the matter is, Juventus can't afford to buy him. As you say, with the loan fee and over the time, that amortization means that they can afford to sell Kolo Muani for around 50, 60 million euros, right? 60 million euros for a player of that level, when we're looking at the prices that are being quoted from other teams right now for other players, I think is an absolute snip. And if I was a Premier League club, for any club, I'm talking from the top, from Liverpool all the way down, or in Europe, Bayern Munich or whatever, I'd be jumping on the. I'd be jumping.
You know what, mate? You just said a name there. I think Liverpool might come in for him. You know,
why not?
Why not? That with the Diogo Jota thing, you know, they need to spit. And Luis Diaz apparently is desperate to go to Bayern. Bayern desperately want him. Liverpool saying he's not going to go. Like I don't know. I feel like maybe that Kolo Muani, if 50 million euros.
I mean, it's a snip.
It's what are we doing here?
It's a snip. How old is he now? 23, is he? 24?
Kolo Muani is 26 years old.
Oh, he's 26. 26, yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
27 in December.
Right, okay. So he's 26. 26.
It's not. Who cares? Like he's
prime, mate. He's prime.
Yeah, prime. I completely agree, mate. Completely agree. Maybe we're going for a 1 hour and 11, so it's probably a good time to leave. But there's more to talk about. Maybe we can come back later on tonight if you're back from your personal stuff.
Yep. I'm up for it. Guys, if you're in the chat, hit the like button. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button. And if you're listening on audio on Apple, please give us a follow. We're trying to create a following on the podcast. A lot of people listen to us walking around. They were asking for it. We've given it to you. And if you possible, you scroll down to the bottom. There's a review section. So please give us a review on that. That will help us grow on the podcast. We couldn't have done it without you. That's for sure.
We're cracking on, guys. We'll be back either later on tonight, maybe like 9 o'clock or something, depending on circumstances. And if not, though, you'll see us tomorrow, like we do every day, at some point between 9:30 in the morning and 9:30 at night, but usually in the afternoon. Massive thank you to everyone. Thank you for the super chat, Mr. Pox Office. I hope those you're becoming less itchy. Love you all. Thanks, everybody. Smash the like, smash the subscribe. We'll see you later on. By the way, if you are a Spurs fan, you want to come over, I'll be on Spurs Talk Show at about, what time is it now? 4:15. I'll probably be on there in about an hour's time for an hour and 15. And then later on, we're over on I'm on the Irish Hotspur with Jack and Dave. And Sam, Johnny would usually be there, but he's otherwise engaged. So we've got a super sticker that's come in last minute. Daniel Field always comes in with a cheeky super sticker. Thank you very much, Daniel. Appreciate it. It's too late to ask for the super sticker train to begin. Choo-choo! It can start tomorrow. But thank you very much, Daniel. I really appreciate you, buddy. There he is, the Thomas Frank Express. Mate, you're a legend, as always.
Love it.
Thank you,
love it. And Singh, 34 million is a bargain for Rashford. If you want to pay his 350 grand a week wages, if he wants to take a cut, I think, again, like you said before we go, he's going to go to Hansi Flick at Barcelona on loan, and that's what will happen. They have got no money for
a couple of worldies and then fade away into insignificance.
He's gonna be fine. He'll be fine at Barcelona. Hansi Flick will do his business with him. He's a terrific coach. We're going to leave it there. So it's goodbye from me.
And it is goodbye. Watch this, Johnny. It's goodbye from him. See you guys. See you later. Bye.